We're good.
Hey, we're good.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Okay, get your shit together over there, Casey. Get your shit together.
Mine's always like drooping and shit, so.
All sad.
I know.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome back to Humanhood, a series brought to you by Melanie Peralta and
Casey Riley.
The series devoted to humanizing your human experience and making personal development more personal. Today, we really felt like we had to dive into the conversation of the conflict of living conscious.
Yes. The constant conflict.
The constant conflict, because we're on these personal development paths, you know, and even last episode we talked about the choices that we want to make when it comes to motherhood or business or all those things. And that is also a conscious conflict because you're so conscious that you're wanting to make the right choice. You're not just dicking around out here in life, you know?
Or even the choices, like touching on that motherhood again. It's like, do you vaccinate? Do you not? Like, the more you know, the more responsibility there is in your decisions versus just free balling your life.
Totally, because there's levels and layers to the journey. And I just think about how I was at the very beginning of mine and like how extreme I was in certain chapters and phases of my personal development journey, my spiritual awakening, my consciousness expansion, and seeing where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And how I've tightened up on certain things and how I've loosened up on certain things. But last season, you had said something like, how does it feel to free ball your life?
Yeah.
You know, when you don't really look at things that deep. Because there's pros and cons.
There are.
Looking at things as deeply as we look at things.
Yeah. And I think that on the other end of that spectrum, the people who are quote unquote free balling their life, they probably look at us and think like, how does it feel to be so mindful? Like, why don't I care that much?
Yeah.
You know, so there's always that like duality of all of these different elements. But I am the same way. And I shared that last season also, like the extremism and diving in and like being so conscious. But now we're really diving into the responsibility that comes with that, because at a deeper level, like it can just sound extreme and we're doing this for health and whatnot, but there's a responsibility the more you know. Like once you become aware of stuff, you can't become unaware.
Totally.
That's how I look at it.
Me too.
So it's like, how dare I consume something or do something or behave in a way when I know better?
Right. But then that could also be a shame trap too, like a guilt
and
trap.
That's what I'm going through right now. It's like shame, guilt, you knew better than that, you psycho. Like, no, like, and that's where I'm in now, navigating out of that. Now I'm giving myself grace. Just because you know this doesn't mean you're perfect.
Yeah.
Take the pressure off. You can make mistakes. You are human.
Absolutely. And I think you also get to a place where what's actually a mistake and what's not, you know, because at one point in your journey, something that was like an absolute no that you really did deem as a mess up or a mistake or whatever. Now it's like, actually, it's not that serious. Actually, that's totally fine. Like eating something that maybe you normally wouldn't eat.
Right.
Or watching something that maybe you normally wouldn't watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would love to kind of just dive into our journeys as far as where we've been in these different stages, because I do also believe that there is a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do have to be radical and sometimes you do have to be extreme.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do really have to just cut people off. And then sometimes you can be like, I don't fully align with your entire lifestyle, but I love you. We vibe, our souls go together, and I can accept the duality here.
Yeah.
That's not always the case.
Yeah.
You know, so I would love for you to just kind of give people an outline of the different stages and phases of Casey's journey through the, you know, the levels of consciousness, the different atmospheres that you've been in, but then also just where you're at now. And then I'll share mine.
Okay. Well, I shared a lot about like the health part of it in the the last series. So episode 3, The Wellness Gone Wild, I talked a
that
lot
episode.
about the constant seeking and searching for health purposes to fix
Right.
the acne, to help the constipation, all of that stuff. And that's really where it started for me, like this seeking and consciousness of learning like, oh, health does matter. Food does matter. Like the things we put in our body and the products matter. And that was like more of the foundational stuff. But where I got trapped hard in the past, I would say like 6 years, and where I'm coming out of now is after I sustained that really bad concussion. So 7 years ago now, I sustained a really bad concussion, and that thing flipped my life upside down. I'm telling you, overnight, I went from being a vibrant, outgoing, social person to waking up, getting this concussion, having symptoms every day. Every day.
How'd you get the concussion?
Um,
Just quick story.
yeah, so I was actually coming out of a plant medicine
Oh.
journey.
Oh.
And I woke up to go use the restroom, and I like blacked out and
Stop.
fell back and hit my head.
Stop. Mm-hmm. What?
Yeah. And so coupling that with the plant medicine journey, I had stories going,
Oh, man.
right? Like, why'd this happen? Is it part of the experience? Like, oh my gosh, I'm still in it type of thing. Like, there was a lot there. This was
Oh my
7 years
God.
ago. And so I get this concussion, and, I'm like, okay, I fell and hit my head. I'm a tall woman, everyone. I'm 5'9". I fell back and hit my head on tile, blacked out, and my symptoms were present. They're still present.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And so the first few months, I was like, post-concussive symptoms, like this is normal, this is natural, but then they just wouldn't go away. They wouldn't go away. The fear was getting worse. And I started to really become a shell, a hermit of myself. And this is when I found Joe Dispenza's work.
Joe Dispenza saved my life, dude.
He's incredible.
Yes.
And so I was like, well, if I'm going to all these doctor's appointments, I was going to 3 doctor's appointments a week, going to functional neurologists, all these physical therapists, trying to like rebalance my body, my brain, and my autonomic nervous system. And I was like, well, if this isn't working, like I will heal and fix myself. And that's why a lot of people don't even know the story, because I don't talk about it.
Which is wild.
Well, because when I learned Joe Dispenza's work, I'm like, I'm done. This isn't a part of me anymore. I'm not adding to this story or this narrative until I can talk about it in a way where it's not bringing me back into this is me. I can talk about it in a productive way.
Yeah.
And so when I met you I was in that phase. And so I had never like shared that with anyone. But anyways, I say all this to say the symptoms were present for so long, and they still can be, that I was searching, endless searching, trying everything to heal myself and feel better. All the different like vitamins and supplements and protocols and treatments and things. And then I did all the lab work, and then all the lab work, when you go searching, you will find something.
Right.
So it's like, you got this, and this. I'm like, that's the reason why I still have these symptoms. And what I realized in this journey, which brings me to where I am now, is I do believe the concussion and all these things do play a role in the symptoms, but it was the fear. Dude, when I learned about how fear can cause physical symptoms,
Yep.
I was like, I've been living in fear for 7 years. I have been living in a different form of survival.
Yes.
My nervous system is dysregulated because I have underlying fear running all of the time, because I'm seeking and I'm searching and I'm telling myself subconsciously, I'm broken. Something's wrong. I need to be fixed. And so when I put that piece of the puzzle in, and I was like, fear is what is causing these symptoms, because on the days where I'm happy and I'm on the beach on vacation, I feel fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's when I'm home, like seeking and searching, it's worse. And so where I am now, my word for 2025 was fun. I'm like, fun is going to heal me. Fun is going to be the thing that like ends this, because that's the only thing I haven't fully tried. Wow. Is like pure fun. Like saying yes to things without thinking like, will this trigger something? Will it cause something? Like without micromanaging my life out of fear. Now that comes with the question of, well, if the symptoms are there, how do you balance the reality? Because people do experience symptoms. It is not in your head. The symptoms are real. However, your thoughts can produce them and can make them worse. So how do you balance the reality with now trying to move into this new identity?
Right.
And so that's kind of like what I've been like really focusing on this past year. But what I will say is when I made that connection of the fear, perceived danger pain is what someone calls it, the person who I learned from. Your brain is perceiving danger, which is creating fear.
Perceived danger pain.
Mm-hmm. Wow. A lot of chronic pain symptoms are perceived danger. Your brain thinks you're in danger, so it's like warning.
Sending a pain signal.
I just got chills. That means there's a lot of truth in that. And so if anyone out there is experiencing physical symptoms that just aren't going away, look into this work because I'm telling you,
a lot of it is emotional.
It's so emotional, but a lot of it is fear, the constant seeking, the perpetuating the story of something is wrong, and you perpetuate that by constantly seeking in an unproductive way. So that is where my journey has led me. And now I have a full understanding. And I want to mention that Joe Dispenza's work was so powerful and it helped. The somatic work, that's what led me into my first somatic journey. I was desperate to feel better. I'm like, please fix me, heal me. And when I learned that piece, it helped so much. It helped me take so much pressure off of the nervous system, helped me process all the emotions that came with it. I have a crazy story I can tell later about an experience I had about this whole thing. But all these things are stepping stones. And so all of it is helpful. So if you're on your journey, whatever you're doing, it's working. It's supportive. And there's all these like little elements where you're like, that's the ticket.
It's always going to keep unfolding. Your answers are always going to keep unfolding throughout the process.
Yes.
So a lot of experimentation.
Yes.
Too.
Yes. But seeking responsibly. That's what I want everyone to take out of this. It's okay to seek, but what stories are you perpetuating through the seeking?
And what's my state of being as I seek?
Yes.
Yeah, because you can seek optimistically, just being open, but when you seek from the place of pressure,
desperation,
yes, and that, like you said, the fear and just kind of like scrambling, like what am I gonna do? Yeah. And then you get all panicky. You know, we just started the bug out program for Rogers Hood. Shout out to the Rogers Hood bug out program. I'm the cleanse coach, and a lot of people in the program, they are desperate for the results, you know, and when we're laying out the tincture protocol and stuff, some of them get really, really like uptight about the time frames. Oh, well, what if I did this? And what if I didn't take my tinctures in 4 hours? And and Kim and I are like, it's okay.
Relax.
We have this protocol to give you a sense of direction, but progress over perfection, baby.
Yeah.
You know, but humans, we tend to really hyper fixate on things. And of course it makes sense when the hyper fixation is due to our own personal suffering.
Right.
Because we do just want to find the answers.
Yeah.
But we're so out of tune with how our state of being, it really affects the overall outcome of anything we do, including eating a meal.
Yeah.
So the state of being that you're in while you're eating a meal, you could be eating something healthy, and while you're eating it, your mind is like, I'm not getting enough protein in. And you're in this state of stress even while you're eating a clean meal, and your body is receiving that meal from that chemical state of being. So for one of the things that I do when I know I'm about to eat some bullshit.
Yeah, I love when you tell this story. Go. Yeah.
When I know I'm about to eat some bullshit, I'm like, body, I trust you. You are a powerful transmutation machine. I believe that you will be able to take what serves me and completely get rid of what doesn't. I'm going to enjoy this donut.
Yeah.
Like, I really trust you, dog.
Yeah.
I know you were built for this, okay? So it's like, that's the balance.
Yes.
Because when you are so health conscious, it took me a while to get to this point where I could freely enjoy a tamale again and not be in the shame energy while I'm eating it.
Right.
But tap into the energy of, this is my culture. My nana made these.
Yeah.
You know, or like, this is special. This is, and again, my body is intelligent enough, and I take care of it enough to where it was built to be able to withstand a little bit of BS every now and then. That's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is such a great conversation, because even when I first started this journey with like the food and whatnot, I would even convince myself, like, I'm not that hard on myself, but ooh, that's just like where the subconscious like pressure I always talk about.
Yeah.
And why my whole past couple of years, I'm like, how much pressure can I take off of myself? This is where it all stems from, because the pressure and the stress and the fear and the hypervigilance will keep you in that dysregulated state. And then you can do everything right and get zero outcome.
Especially when you're one of those high achievers. Girl.
Yeah.
That's so me.
That's me too.
Yeah.
That is me.
I'm like, if I do something, I want to do it at the highest level.
I know, but then there's the balance of that too.
Yes.
But also, like, and maybe this is just the phase that I'm in right now, there are some things I'm not going to fuck up.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not going to slip on some shit where
sure.
like other people are involved and other people are counting on me. And like, no, I won't do that.
Right.
When there are other people involved, you can count on me, you know?
Totally. Well, I think you get to a point within your personal development process where you really solidify your baseline standard
Yes.
of being. You know what I mean? Like, you get to the point where, like, I usually like to operate in this area up here. Yeah. I will dabble in the below a little bit, but I will never go below this.
Yes.
It's like, this is where I draw the line.
Yeah, that's such a good
It's
point.
like, I don't care how hungry I get. If the only thing that's out there is open is McDonald's, I'm sorry, I will fast.
Yeah, we're fasting until tomorrow morning.
Yes,
totally,
I will fast.
But In-N-Out, I'll go in.
I won't even do In-N-Out.
I will go in if it's the last thing where I'm like, there's nothing. I will go into In-N-Out.
See, the Mexican in me will do some like rolled taquitos from like a 24-hour Mexican joint. That's like as far as I will go.
Okay. I think that's the McDonald's form of Mexican food.
Probably.
But it's real meat. Is McDonald's real meat? We don't know.
Who knows? That's for another episode.
But let's dive into you and your journey, because I know even you went into your own like physical healing. I love that story that you tell, and I don't even know if that's really relevant here, but I think it's part of the journey of which you've gone through.
I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is. A lot of people don't know this part of my journey, but I mean, if you were listening to last season, you know all the crazy, wild, trifling shit I used to get into, okay? Like, I was such a different version of myself, and I made a lot of bad choices back then. I was not faithful. I wasn't loyal. I wasn't honest. I was shady. I was trifling. I really was. And I lived a double life for a lot of my teenage years, you know? And so because of that, because I was constantly cheating on my partners and hiding and lying to my dad and, you know, doing things that I was ashamed of, like managing the escort service and things like that, I lived in a lot of secrecy and shame and guilt. And back then, I didn't know that emotions impact your physical body. Yeah. I didn't know that. I thought that like emotions just are in the ether. You just feel them and they're just whatever. I didn't know that your issues live in your tissues.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And so back then, I had chronic bladder issues. I had chronic UTI. Like, it was miserable. And it was just this running joke in my family. They're like, oh, Melanie's got a bad bladder. I'm like, dude, I'm 19. Why is my bladder already dysfunctional? How did this happen? And fast forward to when I moved to LA and got caught by my man doing some shady shit. And he looked at me and was like, who are you? And that question pierced my entire soul. And I'm like, you're right. Who am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? This is not how my dad raised me. This isn't who I really am. I've lost who I really am. And I started going on my search and I came across my first personal development book, Seven Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. And then that's when I learned about consciousness and stuff. And it was so funny because I bought a Carolyn Mace book trying to like be a reader. I didn't even read back then. I was trying to like impress my man, but I didn't even read. I just went to Bookman's and got a book one day. It happened to be Carolyn Mace, Anatomy of the Spirit. And I got that book. And when I started reading that book. And in that book, it's all about how your emotions impact your physiology. And she is a medical intuitive. So she worked with the doctor for like over a decade. They created this book that showed all of the emotional and qualities and characteristics, the correlations to those things and the disease and illnesses that manifest in the body. So I read that book. There's a whole chart in there. And I'm like, where's the bladder? What the fuck is going on with my bladder? And in there, it's like infidelity, shame, guilt. And I had a lot of sexual shame, not even for my own self, because back then I would cheat on my boyfriends, but I wasn't a physical cheater. I was an emotional cheater. But it was still all in like the sacral area because it was connected to love and romance. And then when you're in the sex industry, even though I was managing and I wasn't working in it like that, it was still that energy, And so it was my bladder. And I was like, oh my God, I am making myself sick. So at that point, that's a different level of awareness in my journey, So I did get really extreme and really gung-ho. But for me, it was because it was an emergency situation. Like I at that time became, amoxicillin, like I became immune to amoxicillin. Because I had been taking it for so long. Can you imagine my gut health, bro?
Yeah.
Now that I know, I'm like, no. I literally lived on amoxicillin for like years of my teenage life. For real. And so I did go really extreme at that point. I was like, I am changing my identity. I'm going to be so loyal and so honest and so faithful and full of integrity. And I'm only going to eat foods that support my vessel. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And I just went hard. I went hard in a very extreme way. And then I found Joe Dispenza as well, got really, really deep into daily meditation, connecting with the intelligence of my body. So I was like, I created this. I can heal this. All I have to do is change who I am at the core of my character, shift up some things in my lifestyle to give my body the support that it needs to heal. And I need to communicate with the intelligence to get my cells doing what they need to do for this to happen. Long story short, I naturally, without any doctors, just my own mind and my own body and my own choices, healed my bladder forever. Chronic UTI gone after experiencing it for years. So then when you go through something like that and you go through a rapid transformation and you're like, yo, this works. You're like, I'm gung-ho. I'm loyal. I'm committed to this life, And at that time, I went through what I called my Buddha lady syndrome. When you're in a certain area of your journey, you can you're so locked into that thing. I was in my Buddha lady syndrome so bad that I didn't even want to cuss back then. I was so, I became so, kind of like vanilla in a way. So vanilla in a way to where I was like, and then I became a mom. So then I was vegan. I went vegan.
I did too.
I'm sure so many people listening to this went through that phase, or maybe they are still vegan now because it works for you.
It works for a time period.
It works for a time period if you do it well and you do it right. And I also do believe in the blood type thing. So, but that's a conversation for another day. But so I was just really gung-ho in it, and I lost a lot of my edge at that time. And I feel like it was necessary because it was all of my edge that had me living on the edge in an unhealthy way for a very long time. Because, girl, I could go into prison for pimping these women.
Yeah.
You know how many times I had to deal with undercover police trying to come into our spot and like catch me slipping? I had to be trained for that. Yeah. It was a crazy time. So I was like, I went from one extreme to the other, which I know I've said this before, is a huge pattern in humanity. We are constantly trying to find the balance between extremes. I see it everywhere all the time. You go from this to this, and then you eventually try to find your way in the middle, you know? And that's been my journey in a million things. That's currently my journey right now in entrepreneurship and motherhood. Trying to, because I went super hard over here and then I came all the way over here, but I'm like, I have so much to offer, and you know, trying to find the middle. But going back to the story, once I had Vakai and moved back home, then I'm like, who am I? I remember dealing with some things with his dad. We separated due to infidelity, but I mean, I wasn't the greatest partner back then anyway. So, you know, shout out to my BD. He's a great guy. But I just remember getting so deep in my Buddha lady syndrome that I was kind of letting him walk all over me in a way. And I remember having conversations with him where I just wanted to be like, fuck you.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like something in my soul was just like, not okay with this, but I'm so committed to being a peaceful person that I am suppressing this aspect of my character that is actually a very important quality.
Or just suppressing your truth.
Right.
Because I got trapped in that too, where it's like you can never think negatively, or anytime someone has an issue, let's figure out what's wrong with me that's having an issue with this. And I think that it's important that we do our inner work, because most times it is a me issue, and realizing actually there's another person involved here and I can do all the work here, but unless I communicate my needs and my truth, it's going to remain.
Right.
And so that's a trap you fall into as well, like constantly trying to figure out, why am I thinking this way? Why do I have a problem with this? Like, it's a me problem. Yes. And there are other people involved. And so I love that you shared that, like, suppressing your edge. I take it as like suppressing your truth, suppressing your needs.
Right.
And that is such a balance that people who are on this journey need to find themselves.
Totally.
Because that will keep you trapped in that everything's wrong with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And at that time, I was taking heavy responsibility for all the roles that I played and all the things that I did. So I went so hard at that. And I was like, I need to fix myself. I'm so fucked up.
Yeah.
You know? So I went really, really hard at that. And then I was feeling the fire inside of me that's like, that Mel's soul is in there and she's wanting to come out, and she needs to come out, because that was also the time where I was birthing woman to woman. So it's like I needed to be a different version of myself to carry out. I couldn't just be soft, you know, Buddha lady Melanie anymore. And I and I read the book. I don't remember how I came across it, but I read the book Women Who Run with Wolves. And I read that book and I was like, I'm a fucking wolf.
Yeah.
I'm like, here I am trying to be Buddha lady, but I'm a wolf. And I remember thinking this in my mind. One time I finally spoke my mind to Kai's dad in a certain way, and he was like, oh yeah, okay, like real conscious or something like that. And I remember after reading that book, I was like, if you're fucking with the wolf, you're gonna get bit. Leave me alone. And after that, I was going through such a metamorphosis at that time. You know what? Do you ever have dreams in like certain stages of your journey that you know represent like this crazy transformation. I have in that time, I'll never forget it. All that transformation was happening at the first apartment that I lived in after I separated from Kai's dad. It was just me and Kai. And I had this dream one night that I had this massive scorpion, this huge scorpion, dude. It was the size of a rabbit. That had a dream that I had this huge scorpion on my arm, that this thing was fighting me. It was so strong, and it was trying to sting me, and I was like in an arm wrestle with its stinger, and it was so strong. I remember fighting this scorpion like, I'm not gonna let you win. I'm not gonna let you sting me. And it was like starting to overcome me. And in the dream, because my hand couldn't like overcome the strength of the stinger, I just like grabbed it and I just like bit it and I chewed it up, and I like savaged this damn massive scorpion that was like trying to kill me, essentially. And I just remember this savagery, like, it felt like such an activation, like, don't fuck with me.
Okay, I had a somewhat similar experience, not that intense, but going back to the veganism thing. So when I was vegan, I was like sitting on my kitchen counter and I thought about a steak. I thought about Chipotle and I started drooling. I was like salivating over the thought of this steak, and I like Uber-eated that shit so fast and devoured it like a fucking savage. And I was like, where did that come from? And I never was vegan again.
It's the suppression,
It's the
dude.
suppression.
It's the suppression, because it was a gnarly time in my life. And then shout out to life. Shout out to just the divine path that we get placed on, because then I was simultaneously started to work for Geisha Go-Go, the sushi restaurant, which was a hard environment to be in, girl. It was like Coyote Ugly up in that bitch. For real. It was like, my edge was required in that space. And I'm so grateful for that job, because being in that environment, it allowed me to bring my Buddha lady to a balance, and being able to find my fire again and my edge, and bring the balance of those two worlds together, so that I could be the conscious mom, but I could also still be anchored in my humanness, in the ways that were gonna serve me in my journey. And that's the key right there. That's the key.
The responsibility, again, that comes with all the consciousness. And I keep going back to what you said about like, that's not very conscious of you.
Yes.
Like, shut the fuck up. Can I not be a human? Like, what do you mean that's not very, like, people play that card, right? Or they start to put you in boxes based off of who you are. It's like,
or who they view you as.
Right.
And they like, well, I look at you like this. So I actually, like I told you, I had somebody say that to me about this podcast. So I went through another phase in where I was like, I don't want to be called a bitch. I don't want to be called a bitch. I don't want to call you a bitch. We're queens. We're goddesses. We're sisters.
Every time Melanie says a bitch in this series, take a shot. Because that's the main word that comes out of your mouth.
Which is funny, because for years of my life, I wouldn't allow myself to play in that type of female banter.
Right.
I wouldn't. I was like, I literally had a conversation with my best friend, telling her, please don't call me that anymore. I won't call you that anymore. I don't want to talk to each other that way. You know?
Yeah.
And because I was making it mean something.
It's
and
bad.
So, you know, then somebody got used to me in that way. And then when they heard me on here casually using that type of female banter, then they're like, that's not cute. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be cute. That's the last thing I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm just allowing myself to be. And I'm not putting myself in the boxes anymore, because I also know that on this journey, every single choice that we make is all about what we make something mean. So at that time, it meant that when I would use that word towards my friends or they would use it towards me, it meant that we were disrespecting each other.
Yeah.
And that we were degrading each other. But I'm like, that's not really the case. We can say things to each other in the most loving way. You can say the nicest thing to somebody in a very disrespectful way.
Right. It's all about your tone. It's all about like the energy behind it.
Right. We're the creators.
Yeah.
And yes, like I do know that there is so much power in words and things like that. But at the end of the day, where did the power in those words come from the beginning? It came from the intention of the human who created the word.
Yeah. But that also goes into like music and cussing just in general, because I went through that phase too, where it's like no music that's like going to lower my vibration and like only like listening to this type of music. And then it's like, I love rap music.
No, she had the yin yang twin. What was it? Thug Chronicles or what was it?
Hey, little mama, let me whisper in your ear. Tell you something you might like to hear. You got a sexy ass body and your ass looks soft. Mind if I touch it and see if it's soft?
All right, we get it. You know every lyric, okay?
No, but like really, like going back to the fun of it, it's like, okay, but I will say if I do start bumping that music regularly, I do feel like, icky, lower
There's
vibration.
a balance.
But if I want to bump that shit in my car with the windows down and sing because it's going to make me happy and I don't assign meaning to it, I'm not taking in the lyrics, I'm going to do that because I'm not going to put the pressure on me of not being able to listen to this or be in a room with you where you're listening to that. Like,
right.
No, like there's this huge just like duality of all of this. And it goes back to the seeking versus living. And we do have to go through these phases to learn our own personal boundaries. And then we start to integrate that all back into life.
Right.
Because I was very like vanilla at one point too. And I'm like, I'm fucking boring.
Yeah, I wouldn't listen to certain music either. Wouldn't watch certain things. Wouldn't watch anything at all, actually.
Yeah.
Like, unless it was a YouTube of my spiritual person that I watched.
Yeah.
I think that also goes back to just don't be so fragile. Don't get to a point where you're so extreme in one way that you're so fragile that you can't exist in certain environments. You can't listen to a certain thing without being impacted by it.
Right.
You can't eat a certain thing without feeling a certain way, or you become so fragile
And hypervigilant.
Yeah. But it's like be able to coexist in all of it. Be the alchemist in your world. Alchemize the energy of all the things and know yourself enough to say, all right, that's enough rap music for one day, or that's enough reality TV for one day. Or it's all about learning yourself at the deepest level, knowing what your capacity is, knowing what your edges are, knowing what you need or what you want when you want it or when you need it, and being okay with that. Because sometimes, like, I was talking to one of my homegirls the other day. She sent me a voicemail and she was like, I've been doing all the things. I've been doing business and all I want to do is just like watch a wholesome movie and tune the entire world out and do absolutely nothing and eat whatever I want, you know?
Do it.
And sometimes that's necessary. That is necessary. But did you see my story last night?
I don't know.
Okay. So you're like, how is this relevant, Melanie?
Yeah, tell me. I'm like, what did I see?
Well, because going back to the challenge of being so conscious, especially as people in this industry, mindset coach, breathwork practitioner, you know, we deal with all these patterns and all these things. So we're hyper vigilant on our own constantly.
Yeah.
And so last night, first of all, yesterday was absolutely insane. I had such a full day. And my days have been crazy lately. So when I got home at the end of the night, my kitchen was a mess. And I was like, fuck that kitchen. I ain't cleaning them dishes. That is not happening tonight. Okay. I went and laid on my couch and I was like, I did so much today. I'm not cleaning that. And then I went on my story because I always think to myself, days like this, sometimes I wish I was one of those people who had hardcore OCD that you can't go to sleep with the dirty kitchen. I know a lot of women like that. And I'm like, I admire that about you.
Yeah.
You know, like my brother's girl is like that. And we stayed in a cabin together and I wake up and like everything's clean.
Love it.
And it's because she can't function if it's not clean. So I'm glad you cleaned it, but I could feel how stressed out you are.
Yeah.
You know,
it wasn't because you wanted to.
Like you had to for your own
mental health.
But sometimes I'm like, that could actually be a good quality to have. Sometimes, you know, there's the bittersweet aspect of it. Because I'm sure she wishes that she could not care and be able to just sit down and go to bed and let the dishes be in there until tomorrow. But I am constantly working on my personal self-mastery. You do get to a point in your journey where like the things that you're working on are like way more minute than what you used to work on. I'm like, back then my biggest thing was like, stop cheating on your boyfriends, Melanie. God damn
now it's like fold your laundry.
Now it's like do your dishes even when you don't want to do them.
Yeah.
So on my story, I was like, I really wish I was the type of person that would do this. And at the end, I was like, unfortunately, I'm not. And then I thought after I recorded that, and I still left it up there, of course. But after I was like, but who do you want to be? What type of person do you want to be? You know, if you want to be more of that type of person that does those things so that your future self could thank you later, then get up and figure out how to at least do a little bit. So I had told myself, I'm going to at least get up and just clean a little bit of it. Yeah. Called my sister. Shout out to the sisters, man.
The best.
Shout out to your sisters who would just sit there. Can you talk to me while I do my dishes? Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes you just need a companion. So I called my sister, ended up cleaning my whole kitchen. Like the whole thing. And I did an update. I was like, update. I cleaned my kitchen.
And how'd you feel this morning?
Amazing! Amazing. So, but I knew that day, I'm like, I don't want to, but I do have it in me to get this done. And I know that it will be okay tomorrow. I know how busy of a week I have. And if I don't do it soon, it's going to linger for days. Yeah. There really are days where I'm like, I ain't got nothing going on tomorrow. I will do that tomorrow. And I know I will, and it'll be fine. So again, it's just about having a healthy balance of seeing what your days are and what choices are going to put you in what place and what choices are going to sharpen something within you, because that, I will say, I am not innately a clean freak. I feel like that goes back to how you were raised. My dad was a messy man. We couldn't see our kitchen table ever. You know, he didn't really start being more clean until he got sober and was with a woman who was really, really clean. And then now he's like, they're spotless. But I didn't grow up in that environment. Yeah. So I have to really, it's a lot of effort for me to be a clean, well put together, organized person. Like someone came to my house and they're like, you're so well put together. And I'm like, thank you. It does not come natural to me. I really have to work at this hard to keep a nice home. And I'm grateful that I have done the work within myself to now be able to maintain a clean home majority of the time. Like my baseline dirty is different from somebody else's baseline dirty, you know? But it doesn't come natural to me. So those are the areas of my personality where I'm still working to sharpen that up, because that is in my awareness. Yeah. So
I'm the same way with the house. Like that's an area that I'm really mindful of, like trying to get better at, because I never thought I was a messy person, but I'm like, my house is always a mess. Like,
It's never a mess when I go over there.
yeah, because I clean it. I would never let someone come into my messy home.
Yeah.
Ever. That's my biggest pet peeve. Like, clean your fucking house.
Before someone comes over.
Yes,
Yeah,
you know? So I'm like, okay, put things back. Like, there's only 2 of us. How did this happen again? Like, I'm trying to be more mindful of that. But do you ever get super overstimulated and just throw shit away?
All the time.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, all the water bottles, trash, everything gone. I'm like, it's like ridiculous. And then the dust settles and I get regulated. I'm like, where was that water bottle? It's in the dumpster. Oh, fuck.
I have no problem throwing things away.
Yeah.
I have zero hoarder energy in my spirit.
Yeah, I will remove clothes. I'll get rid of everything. But yeah, the house is something I'm really trying to be more mindful of as well. But yeah, it's like this weird pattern that keeps coming up. So I do like to go to bed with the kitchen clean. Yeah, I do. I do. But like, if you've never been in my room, if you see my bathroom, it's like shit all over the counters. And like, I want to blame Brian. And he's like, I have a single toothbrush on this thing. I'm like, oh yeah, it's all my stuff.
Well, isn't it funny how we're at this stage in our personal development journeys? We're like, now these are the areas of refinement.
I know, but it matters though, because I think that clutter is a cluttered mind. It really is.
It does impact your state of being. It does.
Totally. Like when I come home and there's clutter, it puts me in a bad mood. If I wake up and the kitchen's dirty, it puts me in a bad mood. One thing I have always kept super clean is my car. My car is you will never find anything in my car ever. Ellie's like, don't look at my car. That is something because I think that it's entirely in my control. And I'm like, if this is entirely in my control, it will be exactly what I want. But when it starts to open up where other people are involved, I let things slip.
Yeah.
Because even my office, it's like very clean. The second you step out of it, it's like, well, it's a free for all.
See, this is funny because even with these things, this can also be a part of the pressure.
It's all pressure.
Too. Yeah. So it's like, again, it's about really, really finding the balance because I will say I have gone through seasons of my life where I'm like, I only have the capacity for these things. Mm-hmm. Like right now in this season, my house is going to be messy. Mm-hmm. That's just what it is. So you kind of have to like compartmentalize because it is so hard being a human in today's day and age with all the things that we've got to be responsible for. We have to watch all the things that we eat and the water that we're drinking, how many steps we're getting in. You know those videos where they're like, oh, today I got my protein in and my steps in and I did this and I did my red light and then I read my book and then
Absolutely
I did my
not.
You know?
No.
It's like all of these different our modern responsibilities and all the pressures that we put on ourselves.
And social media influences that a lot. 1000%. Because you wake up and that person's already at the gym and they already have all this stuff. And then you feel that instant pressure of like, now I got to clean my house. Now I got to go to the gym. And so you're right. We have like in this modern day life, so much more responsibility, but so much more influence from external pressures that we didn't have before.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. So it really is about finding what's most important for you to prioritize, what season of your life you're in, what part of your journey that you're in, because you might be in certain parts of your journey where you really are working to heal something super important. And in that, you're like, I cannot eat this, or you're trying to get sober maybe. Mm-hmm. I cannot be in any of these types of environments with these people at all. And then maybe once you get sober and you have that sobriety for you with a little while, then you can mingle with your friends, your drinker friends again. It's always just day by day, moment by moment, season by season. But ultimately, the reason why we wanted to have this conversation is because we understand the pressures that come with personal development. We understand the stress and the overwhelm that trying to do all the things at a high level and check all the boxes can bring on you. And there is a fine balance between your self-refinery, your self-mastery, working to be the best version of you, and then just being human.
Yeah.
Just being a human.
Yeah. It's like, don't get caught up so deep in the seeking. Like, if you think about it, you do not get a redo at this life. Check in with yourself. How old are you right now? And how much life do you have left to live? And how you're living right now if you are someone who's seeking. Or maybe you're someone who's not seeking at all and you're sitting there feeling like complete shit.
Right.
Like, do you want to live this way the rest of your life? You do not get a redo. For me, I want more fun.
I
in
love
my
that
life.
for you, by the way.
I know.
Fun's one of my highest values, man.
Like, so if you want to have fun,
Oh,
you down.
no, if you want to have fun, come hang out with me. I'm the funnest.
I know you're the funnest. You're the funnest, Melody.
Wait, what are you doing this Saturday?
I don't know.
Jen's man is her band.
Performing,
They're
right?
playing at Barcoa and they're lit.
I hear they're really good.
They're amazing. So if you want to come shake your ass a little
Shake
bit.
some shit at the club. You saw me shake some shit before.
It's true. It's
True. But anyways, what I'm saying is you do not get a redo at this life. You really, really don't. So be mindful of the seeking and the searching because it's important and everything is a stepping stone. Everything that I have poured my energy into, I firmly believe has supported me on my journey as a whole, but the energy behind it was not always right. The state of being wasn't always right.
Yeah.
And so being mindful of that in the seeking, taking the pressure off, changing your thoughts around the exploration to be more fun and curious and not in this desperate fix it mentality energy
The state of being is everything.
is going to be the ticket.
Yeah.
So if you're going to dive into it, have fun with it.
Yes. And that also goes for the healing journey, which is why I love that you mentioned fun, because the healing journey can get super serious, really dense. And like you said, you're always trying to fix something. You remember Jeanette from Retreat?
Yeah.
She shout out to Jeanette, my sister, if you're listening to this. She listens to the series, so I hope you're listening to this. She had a project that she was working on, and the title of it was called Bitch You're Healed, Go Live Your Life. Bitch, you're healed. Now go live your life.
Yes.
That's so important. But going back to what Casey said, if you know that you have not been doing the work and you have not prioritized your personal development and your self-mastery, and you know that you have work to do, like I always say, know what time it is. Make your choices, be diligent and devoted in those things until you know that you can give yourself some grace and wiggle room to come back in the middle. You might be in an extreme season of your journey right now, and that's okay. But for those people who you have been going hard for years, you've been at this for a decade or more or whatever, and you are relentless every single day in your choices and your pursuits and your personal development, have fun. Yes. Give yourself grace. Play in your humanness. Find the pockets where you're getting a little too rigid and too serious and maybe too stressed out and overwhelmed by trying to manage all the nuances of this crazy game we're all playing here.
Yeah, it is a game.
Yeah, and just allow yourself to be human, boo. That's the best thing I could say. That's just the most important part. It really is.
Definitely.
Yeah. Shake your ass to the Ying Yang twins.
Please. Please. Whistle while you twerk.
All right, you guys. That was a great conversation.
So good.
Yeah, I'm really glad we
So
dove into that.
important.
Yeah. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in with us. We love you so much. Until next time.